I don't know about you, but I want to say probably this past year was the hardest in our relationship. How is that for you?
I would agree to that. It was one of the most difficult years I think I've had in my life, and I've had very difficult years, uh, more so mentally and emotionally and psychologically than physically per se. And like you said, when there's so many things that are happening, so many transitions happening in life, it is hard to navigate what's okay, what's not okay. And very often in life, you tend to want to just say, let's stop this, let's not do it at all.
As you share that this was probably the toughest year mentally and emotionally for you, I kind of want to let's unpack it, because I know that there were times where I feel like this whole last 2-year period has really kind of shown people, okay, we're going to be in this closed room for, X amount of days time period. So we're going to have to reevaluate the way we communicate with each other. And I think that's the biggest thing that you and I, because we butt heads on so many things last year. And I kind of want to know what were some of the things that annoyed you the most about me, and how did it pan out that you were going through this mental and emotional turmoil? What were some of the big highlights?
So I mean, it would take us a lot more than one episode to really talk about everything that went down. Yeah, it was a lot. Especially if we go deep into each one of them, but let's do maybe one or two highlight pieces, or what happens in a good and also a turbulent relationship at the same time. Because we have a really good relationship together, but it also leads to not that leads to chaos, but we also have a lot of chaos in our life because of change and transitions and things that we want, and we are both very strong personalities in our own right.
This past year,
and this past year would have probably revealed a lot more of that. So one of the how the year started, year started of 2021 was where we made a decision of saying we want to move from California to Texas. We want to move to Austin. We like the city, and we decided to purchase a home. And our way of working is completely different. We know that about each other in our work setting, but that had never really transitioned that deeply into a home.
Yes, Ajit is extremely super organized with massive spreadsheets. And I am organized.
You're very organized.
Just my brain can do multiple things at all given points of time. And it may seem chaotic to you, but in my mind, I'm like, I have a list for this, and I can operate all at the same time.
Yeah. We have our own superpowers. My superpower is I can relentlessly focus for a really long period of time. Which you're so good at. And anything that disrupts that focus disrupts my mind completely.
Yeah.
And you are somebody who could look at 20 different items, connect the dots, and come up with extremely creative solutions, get things done at a pace that other people can't even imagine because of your unique capability. Both of us are wonderful in our own right, but sometimes when two very different kind of wonderful and awesomeness comes together,
that's the juicy.
It's like freaking two
volcanic eruptions.
Yeah, two volcanic eruptions happening at the same time, right next to each other, and pouring into each other at the same time. And so that's what happened when we moved into the new house. We went into this absolutely gorgeous house, a big property, newly built, freshly we're the first movers, we're the first owners of the house. We walk in, and in my mind, I'm like, all right, this is good, right? And I was like, just let's move in the furniture. Let's get inside. Let's just focus on learning the Texan way of living. Get our kid into a playhouse so he can go play all day. Get our business set up. Get an office.
Get some cowboy boots and our hats.
Let's settle in. That's it. In my mind, that's all we were doing. And then he said, well, but this is a house, not a home yet. I was like, oh, okay. You're right. It is not a home. Well, let's see what we need to do.
Yeah, because we didn't make it our own, and we didn't beautify it and created our sanctuary and our oasis. And I was also pregnant, I think we were 5 or 6 months pregnant, something like that.
Yeah.
And we had just gotten through a really tough first trimester where there were days where I was crawling to my live sessions. I had to have some of the other coaches help support me because I was vomiting before, vomiting during, and trying to still keep a smile on my face while teaching. It was really, really rough.
So let me present my case.
Okay, fine.
So you just understood how her life was at that time, listeners of the Brave Table. And so she was doing all of this, right? And we were all moving to this new house. So in my mind,
also organizing the entire
yes, that's exactly what I'm coming to. And you will see how my point of view corrupted my psychology and emotions at that time. And the reason was because I was like, listen, you're pregnant, we're about to have our second child, we're moving to this new house, which is kind of like a project in itself. You have a kid that is moving to a new place. That's kind of like a project in itself. And then COVID is still a thing. So while there is a lot of moving variables here, let's just settle into what we have and get like the bare minimum in place. Get the couch, get the table, get the basic stuff, get furniture, right? And that is it, and that is all. But like Neeta said, it is a house, it's not a home. Let's make it a home. And so to make it a home, we said, okay, let's do a project 1 week, 2 weeks, fine, 3 weeks. That's what probably it should take, right? And so we kind of say, okay, we'll get these contractors in 2-3 weeks and we're done. Lo and behold,
fixture changes,
3
light
months
bulb
later,
changes,
yeah,
toilet changes,
that's
just like
how
little
it went
things.
into. Those were not little things.
And like bathtub changes just a little bit.
Yeah, it's basically everything in that house was changed over the next 2.5, 3 months, and that was.
I was in a nesting period, by the way.
That's. I'm not trying to blame you for anything. It's
I'm
me
just
suggesting as to what was the situation. If you're looking for why I was struggling psychologically and emotionally, that's why I was struggling psychologically and emotionally, because like I said, I'm an extremely focused person, and what I need is space and attention to something. And that couldn't happen because for 2.5, 3 months, we were going through this nesting period, refurbishing period, and I wasn't ready for it.
Yeah.
I hadn't prepared for it because I had prepared for, 2 weeks of transition or maybe 3 weeks of transition, but it took 3 months of transition.
What triggers came up at that point?
So there were a lot of triggers that happened at that time, including there is a disagreement or there's a lack of understanding of our agreements. Because in my mind, we had agreed to, it'll take 3-4 weeks, and that's all it is. And people will be out of my house. I don't have to look at a contractor every day. I don't have to, breathe in dust every day, and so on and so forth. But of course, it takes the time that it takes, which eventually I learned to accept. But in that moment, it became a really difficult conversation, so much so that I felt that you had violated our boundaries, that you had violated our agreements, that you have violated our relationship.
Because I was just kind of doing it anyways.
Because even when we said, hey, listen, we got to stop at this because it's done and I am done, I would see a different set of contractors coming next day and then next day and then next day. And I was like, but we said this was done and there was an agreement in place. Which now looking back at that, I understand your point of view, because I understand you needed to nest, you needed to make your home your home.
Yeah.
You were about to have another child. You couldn't have got contractors in after the child.
Well, yeah, I was like, there's no way I want Isla to breathe anything and anything, or like fumes and things like that. So, but I think I also underestimated, the amount of time that they were going to be there. I was like, sold to the dream and idea that when contractors say, oh no, this will only take like three weeks. And I didn't realize that every other person from California, New York, and wherever else were also moving to Austin at the same time. And so our projects didn't really take. So anyways, it was just a whole earthing of what I think we just needed to get better at with our communication and our boundaries too. See you next time at the Brave Table.